2024 is the year of LEGO Space and has me in the mood to build up a custom spaceship, but not just any old spaceship will do. Inspiration struck when I got bitten by a mosquito, and after swatting it away, I thought it might make the perfect form factor for an asteroid mining spaceship. Today, let's design an awesome custom Mosquito space station, and maybe even a little asteroid for it to mine. We can start off by stealing this ball from Baby Yoda.
Give me the ball.
Which I want to use as an eye for our bug. Maybe it's an inflatable habitat for our astronauts. Normally, this bit goes around a minifigure head, but to attach it here with some friction, I'll add a tire to this assembly and sandwich a snot brick between the two. Then, we can connect in the two hemispheres. For the mining sucker thing, we can attach these white and silver details, before we turn our attention to the skier, who will have to make do with just one pole. Now, let's build up the neck with a small ball joint we can use to connect this in later on. And with that, the space station's head is complete, and we can turn our attention to building the engines. To start the abdomen, I have this fun LEGO City water gun part. I like the look of this rubber bit, so we can just pull that off. We'll need to figure out a way to connect it into this interesting Technic suspension part I want to use. I'll start by adding a pair of triaxles, and then this axle connector. Onto that, I'll add a gear, which we can use to attach that turkey baster looking rubber bit. Then, let's connect in a pair of large lightsaber hilts to serve as cold gas thrusters. Up next, let's build up some structure to use for the rest of the build. I'll connect in a double socket that we can use for attaching the legs later on. Then, for the main engine, I want to use this large cone part as a vacuum nozzle. To attach it, I'll start by removing the double socket to build up some more structure. First, let's add in these axles and a pair of lift arms. After adding some pins, let's reattach it. And then we can add this bionicle Mictoran torso for some added detail. A tube, half pin, and plate will allow for that nozzle to attach in. But I still want a little more detail inside the engine. For that, I'll use this Technic clutch part for its perfectly greebly details. After that, let's add in some more greebles with these corrugated tubes connected to the Mictoran torso. To continue the tube details on the top side, let's add some half pins to these bar plates so we can connect some cables between them and the underside of the build. We can cover up this hole on the top by using this shield, then connecting a robot hand and a tile. All this building is making me hungry, so let's add in some macaronis, which we can chain together into a pasta tube with two long rods. Let's add that pasta to the other side to complete this engine section and move on to building ourselves some solar panels. I want to employ these nice printed signs for the solar panels, which can double up as wings for our Mosquito spaceship. To attach them, I'll construct a long rod by alternating lightsabers and staff hilts. Then, let's clip the solar panels in place. Another detail I want to add is an astronaut out on a spacewalk. Luckily, LEGO's made this printed minifigure trophy part with an astronaut detail. We'll give him a tether with some black zip lines. And to hold him in space, I'll use two of these clear stand parts. Then, connect in the cable with a robot hand. I want it snaking randomly through space, so let's connect the other side with a bracket and a bar plate. Then, I'll attach another zip line, the other side of which can be anchored to the spaceship later on. We can add in a ball joint so we can position our astronaut. Let's add them to the other side here. The contest this is built for is the 2024 Bio Cup, and it has a really great logo this year, which has a Metro Nui disc launcher as the main graphic. I think it'd be fun to incorporate the cup logo into our design here, but instead of using one of the discs that are designed to go with the launcher, we can use this more detailed electronic part from LEGO Dimensions. The main structure of the thorax here can be built off one of these fancy new Technic beams with alternating hole directions. Let's add some Technic here to connect our disc launcher. Then a half pin and an inkwell can be used to attach the Dimensions part. Next, let's figure out something to fill this gap in. Let's use two of these armor hexagons, and then connect them in with an Among Us plate and a robot hand. Next, we can build up a sensor array to cover up these few holes here. Let's use this silver ball, which we can add a stud, bar, and half pin to. Second, we can use a piston head with a ball joint and a half pin. Then, we can connect them both in for some nice asymmetrical details. For the rest of the leg connection points, I'll build up this assembly with a pair of double sockets and some Technic bits. Now we can add some triaxles to it, and then various Technic connectors. Let's clip that in. To attach the wings, we can use a burnt hot dog, which we're going to want to cover up with this Technic figure flipper. We just need to find a way to connect it in at the right angle. For that, I'll add a round plate and a Technic brick, which we can lock in with another plate. Then I'll swing the flipper in place, and we can cap it off with a jumper. With that done, let's attach the two halves of our torso we've constructed so far. Looking good. I just want to add in some more tubes around the leg sockets. To facilitate that, let's give ourselves some more connection points with this little assembly here. Then, it's macaroni time. Let's add that, then a rod. After, a Technic bushing and another macaroni and cap this off. We'll add the same thing to the other side, and I can construct another casserole in the usual way, with some macaroni and two long rods. Let's connect that, and then swing it into place. We can add a second on the other side to perfect our pasta masterpiece. Now let's build up the neck connection with a pneumatic fitting, clip plate, and a ball socket. We can add another of these ball sockets to the torso so that we can clip in our astronaut later. Speaking of our astronaut, let's build up an airlock for them with this bracket, printed dish, and Ninjago shuriken. Let's also build up a little radar dish with a gold ski pole, dish, and a rod end. Then, we can connect both of these in place to round out the design. Another fun detail I want to add is a little Canada arm we can build up with an assembly of rod ends, bars, and candlesticks. Now, we need something for our Mosquito mining rig to be mining out in deep space, so let's build up an asteroid. I have a bunch of these Rocky Hero Factory armor add-ons that we can use for that purpose. For the structure of our dinosaur killer, we can use some Technic bricks, which we can connect together with some pins. To attach in the rocks, we can use these half pins. Now let's attach those rock details. We can fill in some gaps with these slopes. Then, I'll add a lift arm so we have a connection point for our eventual stand. Then, for our mosquito bite mining site, we can use this transparent pink dome. To attach it, let's build up a little Technic assembly and clip it in. I'll add two more rocks to the back side. And then, the final rock we can just wedge in place. And with that, it's time for the legs. Let's start these legs by connecting a ball joint to a stopper axle. First threading on some white mechanical details, and then a round brick. We can follow that up with a rocket tail, and then construct the bulk of the leg with a stack of tube connectors and pins, followed by a half pin, rod, and a rod end. The next leg segment can be built up with a rod end, bar, then some candlesticks and another rod end. I want these legs to be used to maneuver the ship, so I'll add some thrusters to the end in the form of this lightsaber hilt. With that done, we can clip the legs together. I've built up 6 of these off camera, and have went ahead and made the front legs 1 candlestick shorter for some added variety. Since we don't live in space, I'm going to need a stand to properly secure the whole model together. I'll add 8 pins to this beam part. Now we can attach our 2 sub-assemblies together, and add some more beams to this. 1 more beam can lock it all together. Then, I'll add a pair of purely decorative beams to maintain the thickness of the stand, and we can then add a pair of bent beams to give us a 90-degree turn. I'll add in some connection points here for later. I've also built up a smaller stand for the asteroid to attach into. We can connect both stands to this base here. I've given the asteroid a slight angle relative to the Mosquito, just so that it's a little off axis and not following a grid. But with the stand done, it's time for the final assembly, starting off by connecting the head. Then, we can connect in the insect legs. Oops. Okay, we'll leave this off for now. Now let's attach the solar panel wings. Following that up with our Canada arm. And finally, our astronaut can snap into place, and we can connect his tether. Now, we want this guy mining the asteroid, so let's attach the asteroid and our ship to the stand. And with that, our build is done, and we can move on to the beauty shots. Thanks to all the amazing people supporting me over on Patreon, and special shout out to my newest patrons, Cadium, Ultis, and Mansa. You are the building blocks that make this channel possible. If you like this video, YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this one too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, happy building.